iconic roles, but Dumbledore will be in the hearts of many people, especially Harry Potter fans. We're going to talk more about that in a minute, but first, good morning. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday. I'm Brandon Hudson.
And I am Amy Lange, and it is week 2 of that UAW strike, and unless serious progress is made in the next 24 hours, it could get even bigger.
Union president is set to announce a new round of walkouts tomorrow morning if a deal is not met. Fox News' Robin Murdoch is live with more in Wayne. Robin, we heard the horns going behind you, so they're still getting support and they're still picketing.
Yeah, they're still picketing here. We have been outside the Ford, Michigan assembly plant here in Wayne for the last several days. They have been out here for 2 weeks now, and you can bet that they will be paying very close attention to the UAW president's next update on negotiations that will happen tomorrow on Facebook. In fact, last week, they were out here with phones in hand watching and listening. 2 weeks into a historic strike against the Big Three, all at the same time, these UAW workers walking the line outside the Ford, Michigan assembly plant in Wayne are weathering some of the worst weather to date, but are determined.
It's been wet. It's been difficult, but, you know, you got to get out here and you got to support, and we manage.
Rain, snow, or shine, Tanya Dickerson, who spent 30 years at Ford, will continue to picket for her share of record profits. On Friday morning, UAW President Shawn Fain will give yet another Facebook Live update on negotiations and possibly call on more sites to strike.
Greedy bosses ought to understand that they think they're mighty, but there's something mightier, and that's the people in solidarity with each other, with a moral and spiritual force behind them.
Political activist and Green Party candidate Dr. Cornel West among those traveling to Michigan to side with striking workers in Wayne, one of the first 3 facilities picked to picket back on September 15th. It has since expanded to 41 locations in 21 states.
My son has 11 years at Ford at Flat Rock, and he's the 3rd generation. My grandfather had 50 years, my dad had 50 years, and he's in that tier system. And there'll be but one tier, the top tier. Everybody's at the top. Yes. Nobody's in between the middle and the bottom.
That tier system taking priority in these contract talks from the start. The leader of the largest federation of unions, the AFL-CIO, also visiting close to a dozen strike sites in our state this week. Now she and everyone else are waiting to see Fain's next Facebook move.
They're fighting for everybody. They're not just fighting for themselves. They're fighting for their communities. They're fighting for the rest of working people throughout the country, because if we don't take a stand now, then we'll continue to see that inequality grow.
Now, that Facebook Live update is expected to happen at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Of course, stay with us right here on Fox 2 News for the very latest on what Fain says, again, at 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. For now, we are live in Wayne. I'm Robin Murdoch for Fox 2 News.
So, Robin, last week we went from 3 plants across the country to 38. Is there any indication on how many may be affected this time around?
Well, you know, all of this has really been a guessing game, but if things do play out like last week, Brandon, right around 10 o'clock, Fain will likely just update us on some of the setbacks and some of the successes in terms of the contract talks. Then he'll list the next wave of walkouts, and some believe that possibly manufacturers, some of the places that make the SUVs and large pickup trucks, that they could be next on the chopping block, because shutting down that production could cost the automakers billions. Back to you.
Well, we'll see what happens in about 23 hours. Robin, we do appreciate it. Thank you. Amy.
Well, meanwhile, former President Donald Trump speaking to union members last night at a non-union auto supplier in Macomb County. As Fox 2's Dave Kinchin shows us, the visit was met with cheers as well as criticism.
I side with the auto workers of America and with those who want to make America great again, and I always will.
Former President Donald Trump giving a shout out to those on the front lines of Michigan's auto industry in a crowd that included some UAW members at the otherwise non-union parts supplier Drake Enterprises in Clinton Township. This one day after current President Joe Biden rallied with the UAW.
The workers of America are getting, to put it very nicely, screwed. You're getting screwed. Yesterday, Joe Biden came to Michigan to pose for photos at the picket line. But it's his policies that send Michigan auto workers to the unemployment line. He only came after I announced that I would be here. You know, he announced quite a bit later. Spoke for a few seconds. Did you notice he spoke for what, a few seconds? And he had absolutely no idea what he was saying. He didn't know where he was. He didn't know where he was. He didn't know what we were saying. Where am I? He's saying, where am I? Oh, you're in Michigan. Oh, that's great. What do they do in Michigan? They grow weed in Michigan, he said.
Trump questioned the leadership at the Big Three as well.
Why is it that these big, powerful car companies with guys that are making $35 million a year immediately quit? They say, you want electric vehicles, we'll give it to you, when the damn things don't go far enough and they're too expensive. And I'm not in that business, but I know a lot about it. They don't go far enough.
Those attending inside and outside and on both sides of the Trump campaign weighed in.
Even though everybody thinks that these negotiations and everything and the strike, everybody thinks that that's a big deal. In a couple years, it's going to be a moot point because you're not going to have jobs. So that's I think he hit the nail on the head.
We're here to say hell no to Donald Trump. He needs to not be in here. People should come out to stop him from his bigoted attacks on the people of Michigan. We need Michigan to stand together for immigrant rights, for union rights, and against Donald Trump.
And that was Dave Kinchin reporting. While former President Trump was in Metro Detroit, 7 other Republican candidates took part in last night's GOP debate.
This was the second debate for a lot of these presidential hopefuls, and this one was just as testy as the last one. The candidates took turns making jabs at each other, and former President Donald Trump, who decided to skip the showdown.
You're not here tonight, not because of polls and not because of your indictments. You're not here tonight because you're afraid of being on the stage and defending your record.
That was Chris Christie there. And when candidates did not take a dig at each other, they focused on education, immigration, and the economy.
Joe Biden should not be on the picket line. He should be on the southern border, working to close our southern border.
We can't be successful as a country if people aren't even safe to live in places like Los Angeles and San Francisco.
Bidenomics has failed. Wages are not keeping up with inflation.
So here's what's next. The candidates will work to qualify for the third debate in November, which will be in Miami.
And westbound Interstate 696 near Mound Road closed for hours this morning because of a crash that left a semi-truck leaking fuel. Michigan State Police say the crash happened around 5 a.m. The truck hit a wall, but luckily no one was hurt. It happened while it was raining, but it's not known yet if the weather was a factor in that crash. The westbound lanes were closed while crews cleaned up the debris and the fuel spill, but they have since reopened.
Good morning, everybody. The rain from this morning that was heavier is getting a bit lighter now, and Sky Tracker is showing that with this lighter green off to the north here. So this is just some lighter kind of passing showers and sprinkles. I think we're going to be seeing that as we move through probably early afternoon, but it's going to taper off as we move into the evening hours. In fact, it's already begun to taper off in a lot of different spots. So plan on a cloudy day, but a drier day. All that moisture kind of moving in that direction. The clouds are also moving in that direction, and we're going to be dealing with those showers. We have dealt with those showers through earlier today. Cloudy and cool once again, but there is a warm-up coming. And when I say a warm-up, I mean a big-time warm-up. As we move into the weekend, we're going to start seeing temperatures start climbing close to 80 degrees by next week. We're probably in the 80s for multiple days in a row, maybe right at 80. But that all said, low 80s this late in the year, that's a pretty good run to be in. But today we will not be there. Cloudy skies, a couple of raindrops, cloudy and cool with 65 degrees for that high temperature. The showers could linger into the afternoon, and a quick peek here at the 7-day forecast just to let you know what's coming. And that is some really nice weather. We're not quite done with summer yet. We'll talk more about that in just a few. Amy, over to you.